Hey folks, Chad here. And today I want to announce that I set up an F-Droid repo for my apps. So that is different than actually putting my apps in the F-Droid App Store. I'm hosting a kind of a server that has my app binaries on there so that you can just add the repo to your F-Droid setup and pull the apps immediately whenever I update them. Putting apps into F-Droid, there's like a whole build process, and like sometimes updates could be like weeks delayed. And it's also a little more complicated than I want to go through because my apps, I have them like the code on my GitHub server, and I think I have to like add it to GitLab or GitHub and fork it and like do some stuff that I don't think would be very simple with how I have my code hosted. So for now, I have it in an F-Droid repo, which is super easy to use, much easier to use than Obtainium, which if you do use Obtainium and you don't know, I have a configuration file on my website that you can just like pull the config for all my apps and not have to worry about like changing any of the little settings to make it understand the actual app versions, because GitHub isn't fully recognized by Obtainium like GitHub and GitLab and other resources like that. So I already have that pre-configured if you just want to add that into your Obtainium. But I do actually update my apps, not very often, but like last year I updated all 6 of these apps so that they targeted a more recent version of Android, like a new SDK. And that's because they were getting a pop-up that said, you know, this version is so old that it's not supported, and like every time you open the app there was a pop-up, so that's really annoying. And here soon I'm actually going to be updating all, if not most, of the apps, because the icons are like getting white padded. And I guess that's because I'm not doing an adaptive icon. So I guess they like changed how icons work a while back. I don't know how far, but I'm still doing things the old ways because, you know, I learned to code Android in like 2013, 2014. So all the apps work though. And even back a year ago, whenever I updated Infinite Timer and Carb Up, I actually added quite a few features, fixed some bugs. On Infinite Timer, there's like a volume bar on the bottom now, and I actually use Infinite Timer as like the volume bar on my device because I put the numbers there. So like I like numbers, so I like to put it on 7 or 13 or something, and just using the volume buttons, like you don't know what number it's at. So that's a fun little feature. And also Carb Up, I updated the UI a little bit to be not as old looking. So it is a lot more plain now. It's like mostly, I think, dark theme. I don't remember if I actually put themes on it or not, or it might just read the system theme. So for me, it's mostly just like black, and it still works fine though. I have 4 utility apps and 2 little game apps. One's TicTacToe, which has like AI and stuff you can play against, which it's not like AI. It's not, you're not playing against anything online. None of my apps, I don't think, need any sort of like internet access at all. I don't even think they request it. But it's more just like little bots that I built into it. And then the other game app is it has like a kind of finished game and an unfinished game. I think the finished one is Betty the Bird, and it's basically like a Flappy Bird type of thing where you like hold on the screen, like the helicopter game from like the 2000s, like the Flash game where you like click to make it go up and then you let go to let it fall down, and you're like dodging things. And then the other one was going to be like a jumping type, so like a auto scrolling like Super Mario World type thing, to where you like you touch the screen, and then the chicken jumps, and you can make it flap either like once or twice before it has to like come back and land, and you're like jumping over lava pits. And there were going to be other obstacles too, but it started having performance issues, so I kind of stopped working on it. Plus, I'm not like fully into game development at all. Like I'm not into distractions and that kind of thing. I just thought it was honestly kind of fun just to see if I could do it without any like classes or books or anything like that. Just like, hey, I know how to write Android apps. Why don't I just like have a hand at it? If you want to use any of my apps, Infinite Timer basically is a repeating timer. So you can set 5 seconds, an hour, like whatever you want. And every so often, whatever you set it to, it'll shoot off a notification sound. And I've also like fixed it to where if you don't have a notification sound, it has a default now, which is like either a bell ringing or something like that. Carb Up is one to where if you want to eat the most like cost-efficient diet, it's really good for that. So you take it into the grocery store with you, or like you get on a grocery store's website and you punch in all the different options that you might buy. So like millet, rice, beans, and you know, the price, the calories, the amount of servings, and that amount of stuff, like that type of information. And then it basically ranks them. So the top is the most cost efficient, the bottom is the least cost efficient per list. So you can have different lists. So one for beans and one for grains if you want to separate those. And then it also colors them based on like the amount of carbs versus fat and protein. So I focus on getting as many carbs as possible because the only protein deficient diet is starvation. Fun fact. So the greener it is, the higher in carbs it is, and the redder it is, the less in carbs it is. It doesn't signify whether it's high in fats or protein. It's just either high in carbs or low in carbs. So it's a really simple app to use. You can edit things, like it's very basic. I wrote it over 10 years ago and most of the code has stayed exactly the same. So hopefully it works fine on your machine, but it works fine on all of mine. Another one that I don't really use as much anymore since I don't use alarms is the 45-minute rule. And basically what that does is if you wake up at a certain time, like if you have your alarm set at like 6:30 or something, you punch that time in and then it tells you all the times that you should like kind of go to bed or maybe try to fall asleep in order to wake up in REM sleep. That way you don't wake up like in a groggy state because you have an alarm like blast you out of deep sleep. That's one reason that I don't use alarms, is because the alarm doesn't know what stage of sleep you're going to be in whenever you wake up. And I also don't use alarms because it usually gets like adrenaline going and like shocks your body. Like it's waking you up. That's not quite a normal thing. It's not quite a healthy thing. So typically I just try to go to bed in time to wake up by whenever I need to wake up. And that's typically what works for me, but I also live a pretty chill lifestyle these days, which allows that. And then my app Expense Tracker, which I believe I just finished last year, is my first app written in Flutter, which is a cross-platform like software development tool or language and kind of kit and all that stuff. But basically it allows you to put in recurring expenses, put in recurring incomes, and kind of put in like the cash on hand that you have. And it projects how long you can last on that income based on those expenses. So I wrote this coming into this lifestyle because I'm not working right now and I'm kind of living off of savings. I'm kind of doing some odd jobs now whenever I have the time and whenever they come along, but I'm not really focused on that. I'm definitely still in the red. And even if you do have a steady job and low expenses and you're not in the red at all, it can help you see how much you're saving and how much you're building up every year in case you want to take a vacation or just build up a savings, or maybe you have children and you want to, make them a scholarship fund or something like that if you feel like putting them in the college indoctrination system. Your choice. So yeah, that app was written to kind of just be financially responsible on top of already eating, a low-cost diet and living a low-cost lifestyle. Cool. So if you're interested in any of those apps, feel free to add the F-Droid repo to your F-Droid app. You can find it at fdroid.hyperlink.com. And then once you go to that website, there's a URL in the center and you click that and it should open up F-Droid and ask you to add the repository. And from there, you just hit add and you can download and install any of the apps you want. Anyways, thanks for watching. Take care, everybody. Peace out. It'd be rice, millet, beans. Whoa, Jesus. That was not a fly. Woo, okay.